Our esteemed panelists for the panel on digital payments for urban mobility are Ms. D. Thara, Joint Secretary, MOHUA, Mr. Ravindra Pandey, DMD Strategy and Chief Digital Officer, State Bank of India, Mr. Sudipta Roy, Group Head, Unsecured Assets, Cards and Payment Solutions, ICICI Bank, and Mr. Sanjeev Narayani, Executive President and Head Business, Bandhan Bank. The session will be moderated by Mr. Arif Khan, Chief Digital Officer, NPCI. Handing it over to Mr. Arif Khan.
Hey, thanks, Smita, and welcome to all. I'm really excited about this second session, and I hope the audience also is very excited. We have a very, very interesting topic in hand covering mobility and transit. While in the last couple of months or last 3 months or so, unfortunately, due to the pandemic, obviously there has been, sort of a break in that. But hopefully, we'll recover from that very soon and get about business as usual. The criticality of this entire mobility transit in a country like India, at times, I believe, is understated, right? With the kind of population that we have, with the kind of reliance that we have on public transport, I think it's super, super critical. And it's not only about converting the transactions when people are buying their tickets or when they're traveling from one point to the other, and how do we convert it into a digital experience and hence bring efficiency. I perhaps feel in India, there are different numbers, maybe 250, 300 odd Indians who have made the digital adoption. The next 200, 300 million, I think they lie here. Is we can make the right behavioral shifts for this base, I think that India can truly become digital. So all in all, I think it's a very, very vibrant arena to be in. I think the only other thing more vibrant than this is the esteemed and experienced panelists we have. So without much ado, I welcome them all again and would like to start that. So, ma'am, you being the apex body driving and paving the way with regulations, guidance, and whole lot of support, how do you see this entire transit and the entire thing about urban mobility adoption? Where do you rate it in a scale of 1 to 10? And what in your mind are the next or the fundamental challenges of what we need to solve as we move ahead? So I want you to share with us a macro view. We have a lot of bankers, of course, on the panel as well as in the audience. What's your view on this? Where is the adoption and what needs to be done to kind of solve it? Ma'am, to you.
So basically, I think the whole transit sector has to be looked at from a very different perspective. One is, I don't know, sometimes I think the way Aadhaar got done, should we do a vehicle Aadhaar? Transit Aadhaar. What I'm trying to say is, see, there are so many bodies which are providing transit as a service. Finally, they are just transporting people. It is a service which is being given. Somebody is doing it through a metro, somebody is doing through a bus, somebody is doing through a cycle rickshaw, somebody is doing through a auto. But all of them don't have digital payment systems capability because everybody has to develop their own system from their own resources, and many of them are wanting in that way. They don't have the wherewithal to do it. Can we create a Ola Uber kind of digital platform where the fellows will plug in from their system and just use that system? That kind of all-pervasive system of digital payments has to be thought of. I mean, here I am not a techie, so I don't understand how it will be done, but I'm sure it can be done. Number one. So that is something which we need to look at. For example, if Delhi is there, now, in COVID, Paytm say payment or UPI say payment. Sorry. So when we are doing those payments, it's easy because somebody gets a QR code, you go and scan on the shopkeeper and pay. Can this QR code be available in every vehicle? Can this layer of providing the digital enablement be lifted completely from the bodies of the operators, PTOs, and taken to a different level and a macro system is put in place? So that, for example, nobody needs to do anything. It is a unique code created for a particular auto rickshaw and it just pays through.
Okay.
See, I mean, It is possible. I'm sure it is doable, but I don't know how do we actually do it is the question. The one more approach is now we are doing a card. Now, card is again, it has its own. We are implementing National Common Mobility Card, very good. A lot of operators have picked it up, it's happening, everything is okay. But then it's like, only the public transit operators are being looked at to pick up this card. How do we integrate the paratransit? Now, if we all understand, public transit is 30,000 buses plus few metros, okay, and it's a long time before we look at 60% or 80% penetration of public transit into our cities. So it is going to be a long time because we have to invest so much. Or we should create a digital platform for plugging in and making payments so that some of these vehicles which are lying idle in the urban scape becomes the public transit during the day. Can we do that? Ola Uber is a company, is an integrating platform. Can we do a platform where it is so easy to plug in your vehicle and use it as an independent public transit, where the bike or the car is reused by some other person, some other citizen in a particular way, and it is paid for in a professional manner? I think it can work. We should try that. So this is what I feel is a major paradigm shift which should happen from doing cards, and card is okay, but can we move on from there?
Without investing in infra and technology. And again, you mentioned over there is bringing not only the public sector but the private sector also in the play. So there is a larger and a broader spectrum that is covered.
Yeah, and using
Right.
that
Thank
as
you
a
for that.
governance platform where if I have a car and I don't use it during the day, I can say bring it as an aggregator on that aggregation platform, and a driver, an unemployed person, can pick up that car, drive, give the service, and get off. But
Wow,
the
that's quite
platform should be
interesting.
so perfect that it is so professional that that person gets paid at the end of the day, whatever he has to, and the car owner gets the money. It should be that seamless. Then it can work.
Wow. Wow. Thanks. I think you've really thrown a very serious challenge to all of us. Thanks for that, man. Sudhita, would you like to comment on this and share your views? Do you think something like this is viable, and what's your view on this?
See, are you able to hear me, Arif?
Yeah,
Am I
loud and clear.
audible?
Yes, loud, Sudhita.
So, if you look at especially, adoption of transit payments in India per se, it's been a journey long in the making. The fact is that we as a bank, especially ICICI, took a lead long time back since 2012 in trying to push the needle on this, and we are probably the most experienced financial services player in this. And I will draw from my experience and what I have learned, globally in interacting with many global players during this particular efforts of ours. As I said, and as you sort of mentioned in your early opening comments, there are three critical factors in adoption of transit payments. The first factor, which I say, is adoption. The second factor, which I say, is interoperability, and the third factor is risk, which where a financial institution comes in. Now you have to understand that adaptability and interoperability are exactly correlated. Higher the interoperability, higher the adaptability. Now, if you see, and numbers are there. Delhi Metro, for example, launched their smart card, almost close to 15 years back, but still almost close to 25 to 26% of the payments on Delhi Metro happen on cash. Primarily because the fact is that the level of interoperability which we need for larger adoption to happen, probably in all the transport operating systems in our country, probably that amount of interoperability is not there. Let's take the case, for example, say a globally successful transit payment systems like Oyster, or say Octopus, or say even more. I think personally, people talk about Oyster or Octopus. I always talk about the Japanese experiment of Suica. And the fact is that if you see the Suica experience in Japan, it is not only a transit payment tool. Yes, you can operate with Suica in all across the Japan Railway East network, which is quite wide, but you can actually do micro payments in retail using that particular card. So adoptability of that particular payment system is close to 100%. Why? Because it is not only interoperable in transit, but the funnel goes outside transit and moves into retail, where people really find more use for this particular payment instrument rather than only using it for transit. However, we have seen that the world is slowly moving away from sort of closed loop, fixed value or stored value operating transit payment systems to open loop systems, which is obviously the way to go. If you see, right now in London Metro, which actually opened up the contactless payments, almost close to 80% to 85% of the payments are contactless right now, and that transformation has happened in exactly a period of 6 years. 2014 they launched. They were 0% contactless in 2014. They're 85% contactless in 2020. So I think one of the important initiatives that NPCI has taken, especially with especially with the NCMC and the NCMC formulation. And you recall, Arif, the original discussions that we had, wherein sort of the blueprints were being laid out for this. Risk was a big element, and this is the third thing that I will round up my answer with. If a financial institution is taking, as you know, there are two methods of transit payments. One method is a stored value method, the other account payment system method or account method. Now, in advanced countries, in London, etc., they operate on an account method. That means the financial institution takes a risk, and then it's a transaction which happens at the toll gate, not at the toll gate, sorry, at the gate, and then it is squared up later within a period of 30 minutes to 1 hour. Now, financial institution takes a risk during that point of time. However, our experience, especially ICICI Bank's experience of running the Delhi Metro credit card and debit card systems for almost 6 years, is that especially in debit cards, if you follow an account-based system method, you might run into problem because more often than not, people do not have money in their accounts, and the banks end up taking a loss. So, if we have to really make this successful, I think the approach that NPCI took with the NCMC structure, wherein you can move to an account-based method or you can have a stored value method. The hybrid method, I think, was the best solution to operate in. And I think for a country like India, where a variety of straight-out people use public transport, I think a mix of, a stored value method where, the medium of payment is on a debit card is the right way to go, and an account-based method with the medium of payment on contactless is on a credit card is also the right way to go. So in India, we have to look at a hybrid method to sort of address the risk factor. But I think the biggest test for transit interoperability, adoption, and risk would be in the Mumbai metros, because Mumbai is building 8 to 9 metro lines, right? And interoperability between the Mumbai metro lines, the monorail, the first metro line, the Indian Railways, and BST is really the acid test. If Mumbai can pull it off, then I think we would have cracked the model of how to do a transit payment implementation in India. And I'm eagerly looking forward to a Mumbai implementation.
Sure, great. Thanks, Sudipta, for the insight. But Sudipta, I'm going to push you a bit more, right? So, in a certain way, I like that lens that you use of adoption, risk, and also the fact, the example that you gave of Mumbai Metro, which seems to hint towards the platform that Tara Madam referred to at the start of the conversation, right? There has to be an overarching platform. So somewhere I'm trying to squeeze an answer out of you. Do you think a platform like that, built by the industry or ecosystem banks together, do you think that's a reality? What would it take?
See, two things. If for any platform to operate, the platform should be viable. The first thing is the platform should be viable. So, if the government and together, with the financial institutions, we can work out a model by which this platform is viable and the platform makes sense for the financial institutions and the other participants to invest into and gather some return out of it. It might be on a cost plus basis also. It might be on a sort of a non-profit basis also. But as long as the platform is viable and the financial institutions do not take a knock in terms of their bottom line, I think the platform will scale up very, very quickly. In fact, what I do believe is that the base pizza has to be transit. On top of transit, if you're able to build a retail layer which can be monetized for a profit motive by the participants in that platform, then the platform can be uniquely successful. The public layer, you make it free or you make it at cost. The payments layer or the retail payments layer, on top of that, you make it on a profit generating basis, right? So
Sure.
if we are able to build a hybrid model of that, I think it will be a great model. In fact, this is the model that Hong Kong operates in. If you look at Octopus, the Octopus transport layers operates on almost a cost plus basis for all the people around, but the retail layer on top generates a lot of money for Octopus.
I just want you to, build on and add on Sudipta's view. What's your opinion as the largest public sector bank with the largest customer base? Does a platform like this make sense? Perhaps, of course, it does make sense, but do you think something like that is practical and feasible? And also, I would, request you to cover this piece about the customer behavior, where he's using the card or the instrument not only to buy the tickets or travel, but perhaps for other micropayments also. Do you think that's practical? And what's the challenge today? Is it the technology or is the regulation? What needs to be enabled? Mr. Pandey, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Khan. As initially I told you that I don't look urban mobility as an individual piece. See, this system to actually leap forward, it is necessary that we to use mobility as a service. Why you expect a consumer to swipe three cards from starting his home and by the time he reach office? He need one card for his taxi, Ola, Uber, or things like this. One payment app for the metro. One payment app, another for the BST bus or whatever it is. Until we give a seamless customer journey, customer is not going to adopt. This is one. Second portion is that as I think SBI has an experience in terms of running the Noida, running the Nagpur metro, and third in Hyderabad from because of I think something with the Hyderabad metro and the government, we also backed out and the backdoor. See, it's a question bankers like Mr. Roy has very clearly said. Until there is a money for the banker, there is something bottom line. I mean, it's very difficult for the banker to go for it and invest and build a platform. Urban mobility is an infrastructure project. If an operator expects the banks to put in money in terms of as a lead consortium or to manage a system integrator, manage that integrator, then probably it will be a bad experiment to do with. Because I'm telling not because of some anecdote, or because of a practical problem which we have faced in Noida metro, we faced in Nagpur metro. We are a banker. We know how the payments move. We understand the consumer behavior. We understand what we need to do for a customer, but we don't understand what is a payment system integrator is required. How the rail tracks are to be built. So this is one part which we require. And the second thing, are we are able to monetize the data? I'm talking of the operators. Are they able to monetize the data? See, you take an example of Colombia. They subsidize. Tulave is their card. They subsidize their certain segment of people. They don't charge everyone the same price. Why cannot we do it? Like I think I was able to join Madam Thara when she started. What I understand, she talks of a seamless journey for a consumer. Already we have people. We have things like apps like this. UbiGo, Movil, car sharing, carpooling. I mean, I'm absolutely with her in saying that why cannot, if I have a car, it's 10 to 5, from 10 o'clock in the evening, morning to 7 o'clock, then my car is free. Why cannot it be used as a carpool share? So for this, we require a common platform, 100% interoperability, and an open structure. We cannot have a closed structure saying that only this person can run this person cannot run this. So this architecture should be open to each and everyone. That's the my take on this. And as far as the risk perception is concerned, as a banker, no, we have been taking risks. We will take risks provided we are given a freedom to play within an overall enclosed boundaries. So that's what is my take on this issue. I think like Beeline in Singapore now, it's a marketplace for a crowdsourced bus service. I mean, a user can book a seat on bus, lay it on a private bus. Of we need this type of value addition, and simultaneously for an operator, for a government also, we need to. I mean, see, the basic aim for a digitization probably is to reduce the cost of operation and to pass on to the ultimate consumer. And I think we can do it. That's all my take on this.
Right. Thank you very much for those views, Mr. Pandey. Mr. Sanjeev, to you, slightly different, but yet in continuation. Which is the, what have you seen the adoption overall in this space, right? Is this particular to, I mean, is it based on some category, the mode of transport? How are you seeing this as part of Bandhan Bank?
So, there are two aspects to it. One is as a part of Bandhan Bank, and where are we in terms of urban mobility? So, if we look at where are we in terms of digitization of urban mobility, there I think we have just started on a journey. We have just embarked on a journey. We are in nascent stage. It is good to look at other countries and see what they are doing. But the grassroots realities are that people here, until a few years back, were not very confident of using the debit cards. They were not very confident of using any of the payment system which was there on the internet. So in last few years, we have traveled from there to this stage where in certain metro cities we have places or mode of transport where we are able to make payments by cards, which could be either a card as a store of money, a store of value, or it is linked to the account from where the payment is made. Now, going to the expanse of it, I think still a lot of work needs to be done. There is no end game to it. There is no destination here. It is, I think we should only look at the pursuit of efficiency, comfort of travel, and efficacy of the modes. How can we make our payment systems or the modes of transport in urban locales more efficient? So from that point of view, if we look at it, then smaller modes of transport, which are unorganized, are still totally untouched. No, we have, Ola, Uber, one can make payment. Then, and few of the cities, metro, for metro payments, we have cards. In one of the cities, that card can be used on POS machine, so ATM also. So in different bits and pieces in different cities, there have been some developments. But we are still far away from thinking at, the way other countries are looking at it. They have gone far beyond the payment system. They are now talking about, vehicle to everyone, like in Singapore, if you look at. Then they are also talking about how to reduce the carbon print. Look at Copenhagen and all other things which my all other friends in this panel discussion they mentioned. So if we look at all of these things, a lot of work has to be done. Though we can always say that a particular mode of transport it has adopted better than other mode of transport, but that would only be for a discussion purpose. Because if I say that buses, it is not fully, then in buses, if it is not fully adopted, it is because of the fear psychosis of the people using and lack of infrastructure. Whereas in metros, when I see to metro, most of the metros have adopted one or the other kind of payment system where there is payments are made easily, effectively, swiftly. Still, we have to go a step further. We have to have a central grievance redressal mechanism. We have to have a mechanism which generates MIS on these payments and reconciles all these payments. So those things are still we are far away from those things. So I think that is why I said we are on a pursuit to reach a level or pursuit of efficiency, if I may say.
Yeah, but
And
thanks, Mr. Narayan, for that.
As far as Bandhan Bank is concerned, the second part of your question, if I may come to, so we are looking forward, and we understand that any business, until or unless it is profitable for the provider and is profitable for the user. If the user also sees the value, then only that service or project would be successful. Otherwise, it won't be successful. So our bank is, I think, it is the youngest bank in the ground, in the playground, and then we are playing the innings well. We are fully focused on digitizing all our services, and I see a value because there are a lot of fees and earnings and incomes involved in it, like issuance fees, like services fees, like interchange, like and then again it gives us an opportunity for customer acquisition, which increases the customer stickiness. So there is a lot of value from point of view of bank. Similarly, if same kind of value, if I am able to provide, or my customer also perceives similar kind of value from these transactions, then I think this will be successful. Otherwise, there would be some issues there.
Thanks, Mr. Narayan. Thank you very much for that. Let me ask one follow-through question. In this pursuit, have you set a timeline? Do you see that happening in the next 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? What's your view on that?
So I will go back to my
I know,
first
tough one,
question.
but
There is
yeah.
no end game to it. There is no destination point. So it is a pursuit of efficiency and efficient system. So every day, for tomorrow, I have some target. Day after tomorrow, there would be another targets to build in more and more swiftness, more and more efficiency.
Perhaps the recommendation that Madam Thara gave right in the start, the overarching platform, maybe one take the lead in that. Perhaps that could be an answer.
Yep.
All right. Thank you very much for that. Madam Tara, back to you. In terms of adoption, we spoke about Delhi Metro, we spoke about Noida, we spoke about MRT, so on and so forth. Have you seen a particular category or particular class, how you define it, which has been neglected, or do you think it's equally, the digital adoption is equal in all of them? And do you have any insight as to why in a particular? Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to answer these things. I mean, I may not be too clear. Please pardon me for that. The first thing which I want to tell you is everybody is saying about the profits and it should be operational. We should be able to get money. No way, Noida's ridership right now is at a particular level because it has covered particular kilometers and it still has to diversify. The metro which carries the most of the people is Delhi Metro. Mumbai Metro may be the next one. Nagpur Metro will take a long time. So as far as the banks investing in the AFCs, automated fare collection systems, and the cards will have to go through that pain points to actually achieve the critical level of business. And if it is retailers loaded onto it, it may sort of solve the problem a bit. So that's what I'm saying. We need to think differently. Somewhere we got into it and we have got committed there. Can we look at a platform where not only Metro, everybody else who wants to provide that as a service can join in with ease and get out with ease? Simple Airbnb concept for vehicles. Can it happen? That's what I was asking. Number one. Number two, you people said we don't want to invest. No, you don't invest. You just handhold. A lot of startups are there. Bangalore में 2-3 startup है जिन्होंने ये शुरू किया है. Hyderabad में 2-3 startup है. They made public. I think Hyderabad. I just attended a national jury day before. That's why I know on Saturday that in Hyderabad, RTC, the state transport corporations, the city transport corporation, tied up with the startups to provide last mile and first mile connectivity. See whether banks and other platforms can we aggregate them onto a platform. That kind of efforts have to go on. Because there is no way, by the time we provide everybody public transit, it will be, I think, very ambitiously, another 10 years. And, here you're talking about Metro, the card of Japan, very good card, but underlying that is an excellent transit system. The card is topping on the cake. Even if the card is, it's a beautiful system. So there is no transit system. We don't have enough transit system and a lot of investment has to go there. But I don't see only the public investment going there. Public investment has to go, will go, but you cannot, we have 30,000 buses, but what we need is 120,000 buses in all our cities. So 90,000 buses are not going to overnight come from government. It has to come from private also, or the other modes of transit. And can we have an Airbnb model? I may be very ambitious, I may be unclear, but I somehow feel there is a possibility if we look at it. aggregate whatever is happening everywhere and hand over. That's the first thing.
Thank you.
Second thing I want to tell you is, sorry, what was the question you asked? Digital, actually, it's nothing except the inertia in the systems. There is a lot of transport corporations have not, metros are new creations. Metros are new age babies.
Sure.
All the bus transit corporations, they exist in various eras in India. They have to transit to this era. I think BEST is headed by a very wonderful officer. He's trying to put in that NCMC in place. We are in the last leg of starting our pilot. Okay. As Sir said, if something happens in Bombay, nothing like it. We will do it. But I think many of the other transport corporations, there are very small things which are stopping digital adoption. That is why I'm saying bring in an overall platform where the public will shift to it, therefore the PTOs will have to shift to it.
Sure.
Only banks can
Point well
do that
made,
because it has retail capability on it. You can give discounts, you can make it attractive. Then all the public will shift to it, automatically pushing the PTOs to shift to it. Ask the PTOs to start this effort, they are not starting. I'm sorry, it takes a lot of time.
Thanks,
Yeah.
thanks, man.
Thank
I think
you.
that's a great insight. Thank you very much for that. We are running a little bit of short on time, so Sudipta, I'm going to do a quick one, a couple of questions quickly with you and the couple of other bankers that we have. Sudipta, you mentioned right in the start, right, what we know as FASTag. I think right way back in 6, 7 years back, ICICI and I recollect SBI was one of the first banks that implemented it, and then later on it moved to the interoperable, platform. What's the difference that you've seen with the closed loop and then coming into interoperable, and how do you see that space evolving now?
Yeah. In fact, FASTag was built by, we take great pride of the fact that FASTag was actually built by ICICI Bank with a small pilot between Charoti Toll Plaza on the Mumbai-Baroda Highway.
Sure.
And then, I think FASTag is really an excellent example where a national company was set up, IHMCL was set up under the aegis of National Highways Authority of India just to manage the toll operations, as well as also they have they do traffic surveys, etc., all that stuff. But the fact is that the primary aim of IHMCL is to manage FASTag, and I think corporatizing the rollout of FASTag with participation from the banks, from NHI, and from the concessionaires was, I think, one of a fundamentally great step. As ICICI Bank, yes, we were initially almost close to a monopoly player in that environment, but we have slowly given out many of the toll plazas, both acquiring to other players as well, and other issuers have come in. Now almost close to 30 banks issue FASTag, and I think that has really propelled the system forward. The fact is that right now, the toll payments are close to on FASTag from a zero base. Now we are close to about 40-45% of the annual monthly toll payments that we are doing, is coming, and actually it's now much more after it went mandatory. And it's probably close to 65-70% now. And frankly, one of the greatest impetus of the toll payments was the government saying that it has to be made mandatory. Now, obviously, at toll plazas, obviously it is not always a very easy decision for the government to say to make something mandatory. But I think at behavior modification, consumers are very resistant to modifying the behavior. They require a push at times to modify the behavior. And frankly, the impact of the behavior modification is good for the customer, but the customer really does not understand that. So the customer at times needs some push, the customer at times needs some hard push. And frankly, FASTag has been a great experience. FASTag has been a great learning in that matter.
Sure. All right. Thanks, Sudipta. Mr. Pandey, I would like to bring you here. Again, SBI is one of the largest one participating in FASTag. What do you see as the value adds, right? As a consumer, I think, okay, I have a nice sticker, RFID on my car, I'm paying, on the highways, but why can't the same be debited for my parking or something like that? Do you see that happening? What's your view on that, sir?
See, Mr. Khan, it should happen. See, what is a FASTag? FASTag is nothing but a wallet, prepaid wallet. If it is a prepaid wallet, why cannot, while traveling on a national highway, why cannot I pay through a petrol bunk? Why cannot some other services I can use by using my FASTag? again, I say there has to be an interoperability between the system, and I think ICCI Mr. Roy has very clearly told that it's an open loop. Until a system is an open loop system, it is not going to survive. Right now, in fact, it is beyond open loop. It should be plug and play. Suppose tomorrow X Banks wants to issue in FASTag, they don't have to invest too much in the infrastructure. They simply plug in into system, issue FASTag. Maybe they are very strong regionally. They issue and just cater to that region. So unless we have this play and plug model in the common mobility system, where there is a metro, where it's a bus, where it is a FASTag, it is not going to happen. One point I will like to respond to Madam Thara's query in terms of this State Road Transport Corporation. In fact, SBI was in forefront, and in fact, we had a detailed discussion with some All India. There's an association also for the State Road Transport Corporation.
All India Road
ARST,
State Transport.
and we did talk to the individual ARST also. See, it's not a question. Bankers can bring in basically a fintechs, but the buying should happen from a State Road Transport Corporation. Because convert into any system, they're all State Road Transport Corporation, since they are a legacy bank. So they are a legacy organization. They don't have the requisite infrastructure to accept the digital payment. Options for them is to either they invest or they ask someone to invest in the infrastructure. Now, option number one for them, because they are a state government they are under the state government, that the financial budgets comes, priority comes. Now comes option number two. The investor, somebody comes with a payment aggregator, some outsider come and invest. But there, the fare collection you can't increase because that is a slightly politically sensitive issue. And any infrastructure to initiate with will require a lot of money because they are public infrastructure. Their payout period is around 20 years. You cannot think of paying them before 20 years. So that's the chicken and egg story. So around 2 years back, it was when I was there in the system. For 2 years, I'm not there. So I'm not fully conversant in last 2 years what has happened. So that was the chicken and egg story. We did talk to, I think ma'am talked about Hyderabad. I think around 1.5 years back, SBI did talk to Hyderabad. When we talk, then they issue an RFP. Who is going to pay me money out of the commission which we earn? And then nobody bank will come forward.
Thanks, Mr. Pandey. Thank you, Mr. Pandey. Madam Tara, a quick 1 minute response. We are a little short on time, ma'am, but a quick response from you on that, please.
At the cost of repetition, I only say that the place where we are searching for solutions, the solution is not there. We need to change the way and place where we are searching for solution. I am saying provide that platform as a service to all the vehicles. There are startups which have very smartly got, say, 200,000 autos rickshaws on them, and therefore actually linking it. I am only saying, can they do? I mean, I don't know. Technologically, it may be feasible. Today, I go to a sweet shop. There is a QR code. I scan and pay. Okay, so can we do that for private vehicles and public vehicles? They have to adopt it. It doesn't really cost much. Actually, I mean, not much. It's the same discounting rate under which this money is got. So I would only request relook at it from a new technology angle. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yes, thanks, ma'am. I think you made the point. And there are a lot of bankers on this webinar. I'm sure they see this point.
See, ma'am, actually, these are there. It is there in the world. It's not there. It is not there. There is a Moovel, MOOVEL. Now the Moovel, I mean, you can book and for Car2Go. You can book My Taxi. You can even pay for the dues bond. What you are talking, it does exist. So what we need to create an overarching infrastructure for it, overarching parabolic.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Pandey.
And compulsory registration like Aadhaar, then it will work. See, that's what I said. A vehicle Aadhaar with an Airbnb kind of model will have to work.
Thank you, madam. Mr. Narani, I would like to get in. You being the young universal bank, I would like to put it. What's your view on this entire RFID FASTag? Do you think there's a need for a refresh over there to bring the value adds that Sudipta was talking about and Mr. Ravindra mentioned? Do we get something, AI, GPS? What's your view on that?
Yeah, I fully agree. But then, as I said earlier, that until or unless, it creates a value proposition for the user as well as the provider, it won't work. Until or unless both of them they find value in the proposition, it won't work. It may work for a short period of time, but we don't want shortcuts. We don't want our projects to be there for a very short period of time. Banks have tried to put in place this kind of payment infrastructure in various cities, which were discussed during, this panel discussion. But I have my doubts whether are they successful. I really have my doubts on that. So I would suggest that yes, some examples were given for, there are ways to subsidize, there are ways to create value on both the sides, on the user side as well as on the provider side. So I think those things need to be looked into. And as far as the state of affairs go, I think there is lot more to be done. Lot more to be done. There are parking slots, there are petrol pumps. All these need to be connected. There are, in addition to, using cards, our cars should be speaking this language. They should be able to pay for petrol. They should be able to pay, parking. They should be able to pay for whatever we buy or we do while sitting in the car. So that kind of transport
Thank you.
system level, we have to reach to.
Thank,
So
thank
until
you.
or
Thank you, Mr.
unless we
Narani.
create value for all in the system, it won't be in a longer run.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that, Mr. Narani. Sudipta, I just 1 minute, so I'm going to have this last question with you since you're closer to technology. On FASTag, do you think RFID is good enough or it needs more value adds? I mean, do we need to bring in something more over there?
See, frankly, FASTag is primarily designed to work on vehicles. So obviously, RFID, which is read over a UHF antenna, is obviously it's important. However, I'm sure every technology has a second. So you can have a hybrid model in which you have a RFID component
Yes.
together with a contactless component, right? So it is highly possible, right? So it is possible and probably doable, and we must do it. FASTag 2.0.
Thank you. We look forward to that. Thank you very much, Sudipta. Thank you, Madam Tara. Thank you, Mr. Ravindra. Thank you, Mr. Narayan. Thank you very much. I think I really appreciate the divergent views. I'm sure the audience enjoyed it. Thank you.